Welcome, folks, and thank you for being here with us on the call, episode Hard Issues. And I'm introducing Roxanne Barton Conlin, whose life is a lesson in not how you start, but how you finish the race. Hi there, Ozzie Stewart here. Thank you for tuning into this Hard Issues conversation that is a tribute to an icon, Roxanne Barton Conlin, a leader who has given her life to fighting for the underdog. So please like, follow, share, drop a comment, please, support, donate on our pages, become a member, and then check out our insider conversation on ITC for more on our icon, Roxanne Barton Conlin. Now you need to know who Roxanne is. I could call her Roxanne. So Roxanne Barton Conlin was born, the oldest of 6 children, in Huron, South Dakota, to Marion W, Bill, and Alyce M. Barton. In 1958, her family experiencing poverty with violence from an abusive father, the reason for the hard issues, relocated to Des Moines, Iowa. At the age of 14, she joined the local chapter of the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, then the Polk County Young Democrats, and became active in anti-war peace marches and demonstrations. Conlin entered Drake University in 1961 when she was only 16, without graduating from school, and graduated from law school with honors summa cum laude at 21 with a Bachelor of Arts when she married Mr. James Conlin, 64, after which they had 4 children together. She gained a Juris Doctor in 1966 and a Master of Public Administration in 1978, earning honors such as Phi Beta Kappa and Pi Alpha Alpha. Go look it up. Her legal career began in private practice in 1966 before her role as Deputy Industrial Commissioner, and then as Assistant Attorney General for Iowa, where she led the Civil Rights Section. She has also educated future lawyers as an adjunct professor at the University of Iowa, where she taught courses on women and the law. Roxanne Conlin has built a distinguished legal career representing victims of discrimination, medical malpractice, civil litigation, employment law, and vehicle accidents, and has been involved in significant class action lawsuits, including notable cases against major corporations and for civil rights violations. Roxanne wrote the first law protecting the privacy of rape victims and managed its passage in February 1972, along with many other laws and corrected code references. She founded Roxanne Conlin and Associates PC in Des Moines, where she gained recognition for her fierce advocacy on behalf of clients. She has demonstrated a strong commitment to advocating for racial justice and empowerment through her affiliations with various Black organizations throughout her career, such as the Des Moines Coalition for Civil Rights, where she actually worked alongside the Black community in Des Moines, participating in efforts to address discrimination and advocating for civil rights protections. Another one, Iowa Commission on the Status of Women. During her tenure with this commission, Conlin advocated for policies that supported not only women, but also racially marginalized communities in Iowa, emphasizing the intersectionality between gender and racial equity. Conlin's decision to work with Black organizations reflects her commitment to social justice and equity, making her a respected ally and advocate for the Black community in Iowa and beyond. The woman worked with Shirley Chisholm on her 1972 presidency run. Okay, in May 1977, President Jimmy Carter appointed Conlin as the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa from 77 to 81, making her one of the first women to hold this position. And during her tenure, she gained recognition for her leadership, serving as president of the Federal Executive Council. She received accolades for her contributions from numerous federal agencies, including an award for outstanding assistance from the United States Secret Service and special commendations from the FBI and the Postal Inspection Service. And this is just a smidge. This is just a smidgen, guys. Anyway, Conlin is an active member of the Iowa Democratic Party and has held various leadership roles, including chair of the Iowa Democratic Party and a candidate for the governorship in '82, making her the first woman to run on a major party ticket. And in 2010, she sought the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate, highlighting her commitment to public service and women's representation in politics. Now we're going to get to awards and associations. Stay tuned. Roxanne Barton Conlin has demonstrated unparalleled leadership with numerous legal associations. In '98, National Law Journal named her one of 50 most influential lawyers in America, alongside Gloria Allred, Janet Reno, and Elizabeth Warren. She was the first female president of the Association of Trial Lawyers of America and was the first chair of the Iowa Women's Political Caucus, and has had a law school scholarship named after her at the University of Missouri. She was named to the Iowa Women's Hall of Fame in 1981. McCall's magazine called her one of the 44 women in America qualified for a cabinet position. And in '74, she received the Iowa Civil Liberties Union's Award for Outstanding Service to Civil Liberties and was named the Outstanding Young Woman of Iowa. I mean, all right. She's listed in Anyway, she's listed in Who's Who in America. The Business Record named Conlin the first Woman of Influence Alum of the Year. A new annual award launched to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Women of Influence. Her company, Roxanne Conlin and Associates, has been rated in 2023 for excellence by Top Attorneys in America magazine. Best of the Best Top 10 Personal Injury Attorney in 2024. Top 10 Personal Injury Law Firm by Attorney and Practice magazines. By superlawyers.com. Even recognized by Best Lawyers for 2025. We ain't there yet, for 2025. But by the time you hear this, we'll be there. Business Publications Corp Chair Connie Weimer launched the program to recognize women who were making a difference in the community, but was seldom recognized. At 80, Roxanne is still practicing law full-time, noted as saying, "I'm going to sue these companies that do not take action in the face of sexual harassment until the day I die. Count on that." Roxanne, aka Rocky, a leader, has given her life to the issues, a David against many Goliaths of abuse, such as Eastman Kodak, UPS, Microsoft, Volkswagen, the police departments, hospitals, doctors. She has juggled many roles, from assistant attorney general, political activist, advocate for women's rights, defender of the rights of the disadvantaged, wife, mother as well, all at the same time. But many may not know that aside from these deep issues is her deep love of cats, C-A-T-S. Her love for ballroom dancing, cruises, dancing on cruises. She even became a pilot. I mean, where did she find the time? But she's a pilot. So find out more on our membership page as we go inside the call, after we go on the call, and pick up a book, Unstoppable. The 9 Lives of Roxanne Barton Conlin. Amazing book. All right. This episode is to highlight the unstoppable Roxanne Barton Conlin, but also to say thanks to this woman who has given her life to fighting for the underdog when the beginning of her life was as an underdog. Stay tuned. So, now that you've heard all of that, we're going to speak with Roxanne. And you know how I do it, by way of questions. So, Roxanne, what inspired you to pursue a career in law? And were there specific experiences that motivated you?
I was not inspired to become a lawyer. I was told by my sophomore homeroom nun that rather than being a movie star, which was my initial goal, that I should become a lawyer so I could use my talent for drama. Right, I would have, but I think it's a little late for that now. But she thought I could use my brain and my talent for the dramatic and as a lawyer. She did not, however, know that becoming a lawyer as a woman would be much more difficult than as a man. Right. And also because of my family life.
Right. Can you describe your journey from private practice to becoming U.S. attorney for the Southern District?
For the Southern District of Iowa, yes. I was politically active, and that is a political appointment. You serve at the president's wishes. You are appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate. And because I had been so politically active, I was the obvious choice, frankly, even though there had only been, at the time that Virginia McCartney and I were the first two women appointed to be United States Attorney and then confirmed by the Senate, and she was 4 days before me.
Wow. As one of the first women appointed as a U.S. Attorney, how did that influence your perspective on gender representation in the legal field?
Well, gender representation in the legal field has been a battle of a lifetime for me. I graduated from law school in 1966. The total number of women who practiced trial law in the country was probably fewer than 500. And that's what I wanted to do, always, nothing else. And so making my way to a trial lawyer position was sometimes overwhelming. The first thing that I did was work for the government. After I was in private practice, I became a deputy industrial commissioner and kind of a judge of workers' compensation cases. Went from there to being an assistant attorney general, a job I absolutely loved. I tried the first case ever tried under the Iowa civil rights law. I was a pretty terrible lawyer, and I know that because that's what the Supreme Court told me. So I decided I'd get better. And from that, I did a lot of things for the Attorney General's office and left it to become United States Attorney.
Can you share a particular civil rights case that had a significant impact on you that may have shaped your view on justice?
Well, the first case I tried was a race discrimination case involving an African-American applicant to the Iron Workers Local 67 here in Des Moines. President Johnson signed an order in 1968 requiring that labor unions become open to African Americans. And so this man took that seriously and applied to get a business permit to work on the United States Post Office. And when he showed up for the job, the iron workers walked off the job. So it was not a difficult case. It was a difficult case for me to try because I did not know what I was doing. But certainly it was clear what had happened. The business agent showed up on the job and everybody followed him right off of the job, shut the job down for several days. And the contractor filed the complaint on behalf of the worker, who went back to work ultimately, but quit because he was so threatened by the environment. That was the first case ever tried under the Iowa Civil Rights Act, and as a result, it established the constitutionality of the Iowa Civil Rights Act. So that was an important thing to do initially.
How did your role as the first female president of the Association of Child Lawyers of America affect your professional goals?
Well, it was one of my professional goals to become the first woman president, but not the last. And so that's what I set out to do. I was very much encouraged by other presidents. The idea of a woman president was anathema to some of my brothers, frankly, and they very much objected. But in the Association of Trial Lawyers of America, you progress through the chairs. You started out as parliamentarian and then treasurer and secretary and so on, and then you became the president. That's how it usually worked. I was challenged at the beginning, and I only won by 21 votes. After that, I was never challenged again.
There. Who were your most significant mentors? How did they influence your career development? Or your
Well,
top two,
I've
let's
had
say?
so many people in my life that have been gifts to me. I think of the famous women, Shirley Chisholm you mentioned. I think of Gloria Steinem, who became a very important influence in my life, Betty Friedan, all of whom I met at one point or another and worked with at one point or another in the National Women's Political Caucus and in other feminist organizations, the goal of which was to move women forward, to assure and require that women be given equal opportunities. And so those women were certainly important to me. My mother was important as an influence. There are many women here in Iowa. A woman named Minette Doderer was both an Iowa senator and an Iowa member of the House of Representatives. And when I was an assistant attorney general, we decided to fix the Iowa code. And so I would write the bills, I would give them to her, and she scared people. Truly, she was very outspoken, tiny little woman, but very outspoken. And so she would get them passed. I would walk over from the Attorney General's office to the State House, hand her the bill, she'd put it on the floor, and it had passed. And we passed almost everything that very first year. And she was, and a woman named Joan Lipsky, a Republican woman from Cedar Rapids, was very much a part of that as well. She didn't scare people as much as Minette did.
What do you consider the most important issues facing women in politics today?
Getting elected. We've seen it again, and it's not as though we didn't know that racism and sexism exists. We do know. There are some people who deny the existence of racism and sexism, but that's because they are not paying attention. I think that there were a lot of things happening at the same time, but certainly getting elected for women remains a struggle. It's difficult to raise the money. It's difficult to convince people that you have the necessary leadership qualities to become a leader. And once you do that, then you have to move forward. And I think that we here in Iowa have a woman governor and a woman senator, both of whom are
Katie Porter.
are Republicans and much more conservative than I would hope that women would be in their own interests. But Joni Ernst has been very effective in terms of sexual harassment and sexual assault in the military because she's a combat veteran. And Kim Reynolds has also done important things for women. She's also done some pretty horrible things.
How has your legal practice, Roxanne Conlin and Associates, evolved over the years? And what are the areas you're most passionate about? Because you work in a number of different areas.
I do, and I'm passionate about all of them, Ozzy.
Okay.
I care deeply about every single one of my clients, and I've had literally thousands of clients. I suppose that if I were required to name one area that I find particularly important, it is sexual harassment cases. When I started out as the head of the Civil Rights Division of the Iowa Department of Justice, I thought, okay, I'll do this for maybe as much as 10 years until people know what the law is, and then they'll follow the law, and then I'll go on to do something else. Imagine how naive that was, because today, last week we get calls from women who are being grossly sexually harassed, grossly, and so some people just need to be sued.
Do you think that's a phrase that I'll bring back to you again? And do you see, based on where we are today, that it is getting worse?
No, I see it getting better.
Okay.
it's the long view. I have a very long view.
Okay.
And I see the progress that we've made over the 50 plus years that I have been actively involved, maybe more than almost 60 years that I've been actively involved in women's issues. And we've gotten the law changed. We've gotten cases that have established our rights. We have gotten, in credit and housing and employment and education. Title IX created Caitlin Clark,
But can those things be reversed?
Yes, unfortunately they can be. And because we do not have the Equal Rights Amendment looking forward, it frightens me.
Right. And that's right. And that's the view I was coming with that question.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the fear.
We can, and we do see pockets of resistance, certainly, all over the country. And people who believe that women have too many rights, and people who are going to apparently serve in the cabinet who believe that women should not be allowed to vote.
Right. Should be back home in the kitchen. What advice would you give to aspiring female lawyers in this male-dominated still field? You were in 1998. For those who didn't remember what was said in bio, you were named one of the 50 most influential women, lawyers, actually, in America. So when you're speaking with these, where we are in this day and time, to those new aspiring female lawyers, what would you say?
Well, I do speak to women who aspire to be attorneys. I have lunch with them. I speak to classes. I do whatever they ask me to do as a general rule, because I think it's very important that girls, students, have the whole panoply of occupations available to them. And girls who want to be lawyers, they should get good grades. They should pay attention in class. They should take liberal arts in college, and then they should become trial lawyers.
Go for it.
That's right. Be flexible.
How have you balanced your professional responsibilities with the personal life and being a mom of four? How did you do all of that? 'Cause
I look back and I wonder myself, Ozzy, truly I do. I really do. I was United States Attorney when I had 3 teenage children. And I say to women's groups, and since then everything else has been a piece of cake. The rule in my house was do not call mommy at the office unless somebody is bleeding. That was the rule. Otherwise, talk to your dad. So we have a very egalitarian marriage, which we built from scratch. Yeah. Let me assure you. And I think that has been very instrumental in terms of what I've been able to do. I've had someone I can count on absolutely to care for the children when I'm not there, to do whatever needs to be done, take them to the doctor, do everything that needs to be done. He's been a very active partner. And that's another piece of advice I give to all women. Choose your life partner carefully.
We're going to get to that too. What's one piece of advice you wish you could give your younger self when you were starting out?
It'll get better.
How did your first impressions of Shirley Chisholm shape your views about women in politics?
Oh, she was such an influence on my life. I did not meet her till after the campaign was over, but I loved her from my first time. I saw her on TV. She was articulate. She was forceful. She was powerful. She was amazing to me. So when she announced for President of the United States, I'm in Iowa. That was the first year of the Iowa caucuses, and we had our headquarters in the inner city, and we gave courses on how to attend the caucuses and what to do. Very complicated, 15%, all kinds of stuff like that. But I was a good friend to the man who developed that particular formula. So we were quite successful at the state caucus and getting people to go to Florida for the 1972 United States Democratic Party. 4 women from Iowa went as Shirley Chisholm delegates, more than any other state.
I try to put myself in that time with her, sitting in front of her, speaking with her, her addressing you. You know, what was that communication like? I mean, I know she's all powerful and all that, but what was that communication?
It was amazing. She was amazing. She was so courageous and so outspoken. She was an attorney. She ran for Congress and won. And she always said that she suffered more from being a woman than from being Black. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's how she felt about it. And I thought that is a woman with a lot of self-knowledge. I aspire to self-knowledge.
Right. What key takeaways did you gain from collaborating with Bella Abzug on women's issues and civil rights?
Bella was, we just don't have any person like that. Maybe Elizabeth Warren comes closest, but she was, to say she was outspoken substantially understates who she was. Like you, she always wore a hat, and she came to the first convention of the Iowa Women's Political Caucus and gave a speech that inspired people for hundreds of miles around. I think she was a little loud. I spent a lot of time with Bella over the years and came to love her as a person, as a leader, as an inspiration. She was, you just can't really summarize her, because she did so many things for women, and she never backed down. Never,
That's
never,
what they
never.
call a bit of a
Yes,
bulldog.
exactly.
How would you compare Bella with Geraldine Ferraro?
Bella never would have been on anybody's ticket as the vice president.
Right.
Geraldine Ferraro was also an inspirational, amazing woman, but a whole different style than Bella. And we had prepared, the women's movement had prepared to elect Geraldine Ferraro from the floor if Walter Mondale had not selected her. We were ready to go. We divided the convention floor up into three. I was in charge of one of them. I think I was in charge of the one over here. And we were ready to move. And we're kind of disappointed, frankly, that we didn't get to do that.
Right.
Because she was the choice of the convention. And I think she served, I think she was a very good candidate. She was a very good, powerful speaker, and really just a very delightful person.
So, initially, you had made a thing of you never want to be poor.
I was poor.
But
no fun. I didn't have any choice about it.
Right. But you wanted to definitely get out of
Poverty.
that part of poverty.
I did.
And would you say that was like that also was a motivator?
Sure, absolutely. Don't you think?
Yeah.
You know, being poor is a hell of a motivator to stop being poor.
Yeah. Yeah. So what has been the biggest challenge in your professional life?
Being a woman.
What is the joy of your job? Your career?
My clients. The people come to me when something terrible has happened to them, whether it be discrimination on the basis of a characteristic that is immutable, or they've been injured by a doctor. And it's usually the worst time in their lives. And they come to me, and I have only a limited thing that I can do to help them. I cannot fix what happened to them. I cannot change what happened to them. I can only get them fair compensation for what happened to them. And I have devoted my life to that. I find that very fulfilling. I find my clients themselves inspirational. People have overcome such obstacles to get where they want to be, and I can help them with money.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, I don't have a lot of pet peeves in actual fact. I'm trying to think of a pet peeve. I don't have any pet peeves. I must have some, and when you leave, I will definitely think up some.
What is your best time of day to work?
I am a night person.
You're a night owl.
Yes, I've done much of my work from about 8 o'clock until about 2 o'clock in the morning. But you can't try cases during
Right.
those hours. You have to
Right.
get up very early in the morning, so I violate my body clock whenever I go to trial.
So being an animal lover and a Drake University student, are those requirements for hire? To be hired? But for people who come to work for you, are
oh,
those requirements?
those are not requirements.
Okay.
No, not at all. As
Okay.
a matter of fact, I liked. We used to have animals. We used to have kittens at the office, but I have a person in my office who's allergic, so we can't do that anymore. But they can come over here and say hello to my kittens.
Do you remember this quote? My hope would be that I've lived my life in such a way that I can influence other women to go for what they want, not for what they're supposed to do, not for what their mom and dad wants them to do, not for what their kids want them to do, but what they want to do. Most of their lives are spent working, so I sure as heck would not want to be doing something I didn't want to do.
All true.
Here's another one. We must defeat those who stand in the way of justice and progress. Remember saying that?
Yeah, and I spend every day of my life trying to defeat those who stand in the way of justice.
Next one. Do your utmost. Don't skimp, hesitate, turn over every rock.
That's what I tell people who are trying lawsuits. And I tell them that so if they lose, they will be able to get up and do it some more. Because losing a lawsuit for a lawyer who cares about her clients is the worst thing in the world. And so if you turn every page, turn over every rock, do absolutely everything that case, that client needs for you to do in order to prevail.
But that sort of kind of goes across the board, all jobs, all careers, all
Yes.
levels, all goals.
Yes, absolutely.
Another one. I didn't want to be president if an organization that was governed by an all-white, almost all-male board.
That's what I said when I created for the Association of Trial Lawyers of America the Minority Caucus and the Women's Caucus. And we changed the bylaws so that each of those organizations can elect people to the board. It was very important to me. And I stood up there in front of all of these white men, and I thought, gee, this isn't right. This can't be allowed to continue.
They must have been so happy to...
Some of them were happy, some of them were really not happy. I can't tell you that when I was trying to get this off the ground, I heard people stand at the microphones and say things. I thought I was at a Republican convention. You know, if women want to be elected to the board, all they have to do is run. That is not the fact.
That's right.
So
That's correct.
we changed that.
Last one. Diversity strengthens us by broadening our ideas.
Yes. Don't you think? I mean, absolutely, you need to meet people who are different than yourselves in order to understand people's lives, what they want, what they need, what you can help with.
Well, folks, I'm in such admiration for this woman. Thank you, Roxanne, for spending this time with us. Thanks to Cheese and our OTC team, to my audience. Thank you for spending your valuable time today with Roxanne, myself, and Cheese. So like, follow, drop a comment, become a member. Remember, as a member, you're paying $35 and you're getting 24 episodes of the inside conversations that is only found on that Inside the Call page on the website, nowhere else. Thank you for doing that. Check in with us because we're going inside the call, so stay tuned. Roxanne, thank you for staying now and for being on the next. And for you, audience, please care to share. And remember, when you're on your beat, stay on the sunny, sunny side of the street. Do that safely, be health conscious, kind to one another. And don't forget to give thanks for the little and big gifts as we strive through and to this beautiful life. See you on their membership page.
From the beginning of my life, I have felt strongly that everybody should have the equal rights, that justice belongs to all of us. And that's what compelled me to go to law school. I wanted to make the world a fairer place for everybody. And so I've spent all my career doing that as best I can.